For this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women, I have the amazing Dawn Bates with me, and she is the most amazing author known to mankind because she's actually the author of Becoming Annie, the biography of a curious woman, who I'm sure you've all heard about. Well, today you're going to hear so much more about that. Welcome to the program, Dawn.
Thank you, Annie. Sorry, I've got the giggles, but then you knew that anyway. Thank you for having me on the show.
We're going to giggle a lot today because that's all we do as we share together, share our lives together and share what has gone into my biography. And I know this is the way you roll with all of those that you interview. So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Who is Dawn Bates?
Well, you've already heard I'm a giggler, a tea drinker, I'm a sailor. I'm called a machine when it comes to writing books and creating content. But generally, I'm human. I'm a woman who's got dreams and aspirations, who goes after them. I ghostwrite for people. I have two amazing young men who blow my mind and call me forward every single day. They're at home with their dad in the UK as I go off on my mad adventure sailing around the world, writing books and going on a book tour. Well, not so much at the moment, but yeah, and apparently I'm one of the world's best kept secrets. So
absolutely, as we both are, we'll have to share that mantle. So what took you to Argentina? Why are you in Argentina at the moment?
Well, I wasn't actually going to come to Argentina. It was kind of like, well, we were crossing the Atlantic because I did a 3-month Atlantic Ocean crossing. I was supposed to go to the Caribbean, but 3 trips fell through, and I just said to it, like, okay, what plans do you have for me? Show me where you want me to go, where you want me to serve. And I opened up my inbox and within half an hour, a trip to Chile dropped into my, I was like, okay, I'm listening, I'm going to Chile. And then I did the 3-month ocean crossing via Cabo Verde, Montevideo in Uruguay, down by Las Malvinas, the Falklands, and along the Magellan Strait, which Magellan did not discover. I just want to make sure that that's known. It was discovered by the Chinese, but there we go. Gavin Menzies, 1421. And then down into Chile. But when we were coming across the ocean, one of the guys on board was filming a environmental documentary, and he was actually making his way around the world carbon free. Like, so he was sailing and he was cycling and walking, film crew and everything. And then we found out that there was the uprising in Chile, and I just burst out laughing. It's not that I was laughing at the fact that there was a civil war.
Yeah, I love that as an automatic reaction to an uprising. Yeah. So you burst out laughing.
Yeah, well, when I went to live in Egypt for 4 years off, maybe 5. We'd only been there 6 months, and the Egyptian uprising kicked off, which is what my second book was about. And I was like, oh gosh, my friends are going to love this. And that's why I started laughing. I was like, this is just not happening. Or I don't really want to stay in Chile if there's another uprising. I just don't want to deal with an uprising. I stayed there for a month just to ground myself after having been at sea for a month. Made my way up through Patagonia, and as I came out of Patagonia, I was like, okay, do I stay on the Chilean side of the border or do I go to the Argentinian? I meditated, and it was like, you go to Argentina. So I came here. My boys were excited. They were going to get to eat Argentinian steak. I don't eat meat. And I've been in quarantine ever since.
So you're basically stuck in Argentina for the last 6 months?
Pretty much, yeah. But I'm not stuck. I don't do stuck, Annie.
You're not stuck. You're roaming around the streets of Buenos Aires.
Yeah, just like some random vagabond.
No, but because you've just gone and went, oh, well, I'm here. I'm just going to write books and just carry on. Just do more of the Dawn adventure. That is Dawn. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I can't control what's going on around me. So the only thing I can control is what's going on within me and what is going on within my business and my relationships with myself, with others. And I don't do pity parties very well. And whereas a lot of people have felt sorry for themselves or they felt trapped, I think a lot of the work that I've done over the years, having lived through the Egyptian uprising and been given a curfew for the first time in my life by a dictator, I was like, what? My mum didn't even give me a curfew. What's going on? I mean, I've got to be in by 7. That was weird. But then with everything that happened in Scotland, which is detailed in my 3rd book, Crossing the Line, where I was... I was arrested, Annie. Like, how dare they?
Who would arrest you in Scotland? You do attract trouble, don't you?
I do. Apparently, I do. I actually did joke that I actually manifested this whole quarantine because I needed to get stuff done.
Well, that is a serious amount of power. So we'll just leave that one to the side. So let's backtrack then. So what made you, where do we even start with the story of Dawn? What made you suddenly get on a boat to come to Chile? Let's work backwards. What have you always been into sailing, or did you suddenly go, I have to do something different for me? What makes a woman just suddenly go, I'm going to leave UK, go sailing on this world voyage and see what will be?
Oh, wow. When I was 8, I remember sitting on the beach with my mum and dad. Dad used to do a lot of beach fishing. I remember sitting on the beach with my mum, and my mum reminded me of this just as I was leaving. She goes, you said when you were 8 years old you were going to go do this. And I was like, I know. She goes, well, it took you long enough. What have you been doing all these years?
What a fabulous mom.
Yeah, honestly, some of the phrases my mum comes out with, I've told her I'm going to write a book about your phrases. She goes, you are not. I said, no, I am. She goes,
don't dare me. Like, don't dare me, mum.
Oh, she wouldn't, but she knows anyway. But, and then, this trip wasn't supposed to happen until my youngest had left school. But there are certain things that happen in our lives that just accelerate plans and bring them forward or delay them. And I just had to, I remember sitting in the bath listening to a podcast by someone who I was friends with at the time. And my heart just cracked open and I was just in tears. And I was like, I've got to go. I've got to go now. I mean, the boys and I had been planning it. And my youngest went, well, I'll go to boarding school, Mummy. And I was like, no, you won't. You're going to live with your dad. Go to boarding school. Really? You want to go to boarding school? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then he decided he'd missed the dogs too much and miss his nanny and granddad. So he decided he wasn't going.
You've got to think it through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the boys cheer me on. They tell me I'm not allowed to go back home because I'm just inspiring too many women, and what I'm doing is really important, and this is for me. And my ex-husband is cheering me on as well and fully supportive, and he's actually admitted that it's been great for him to be, as a dad, to be able to parent his boys in the way that he wanted to without me being there on a day-to-day basis, but still us getting together and making important decisions together. So it's been really good for all of us.
What an amazing relationship dynamic, and it's so great that you've been able to make that work. When so many people find it challenging, you've actually got to obviously a stage in your lives that you actually just want each other to be happy and ride with what that means. So what was when you actually then set off on the boat and you've got this whole month at sea, you've got all the training, I'm imagining, and all of that happening, what has been the biggest learning for you?
I think learning to bite my tongue, to be honest.
You're not allowed to be chatty on the boat.
No, I don't suffer fools gladly, Annie. Like I can't, like, boats get smaller by the second when you're on a boat with the wrong people. And when you're about to do an ocean crossing, and I mean, there was one lady that I sailed with. Why she was a sailor, I have no idea. The moment we hauled anchor and the lines were back on the boat, she was out of it. She was sick from the moment we left harbour to the moment we arrived. And when you've got someone laying around, but she was only doing it for the prestige of saying that she'd gone sailing, my darling.
Of course.
I'm like, look, you're a liability, love. And like, serious liability, you know, if we'd have run into any problems, she would have been no good to anybody. She was no good to anybody, you know, and because of the sickness and her wanting to be very natural, she wouldn't take any seasickness remedies. And it was just like, oh, do you know, like I had to bite my tongue. So I think the biggest challenge for me has been learning to hold my tongue, but also finding space for me. Because, you know, when you're only on a 55-footer and there are 4 people and you're in the middle of the ocean and you can't walk away.
Yes, very challenging.
It's not very wise to swim either. Although.
Well, I must admit, learning to bite your tongue is better than learning not to kick the lady overboard. So I think you did well there. So it's interesting that someone who needed must have done a couple of little warm-ups. Someone who needed to actually have a bit of space and a bit of time to just learn to know yourself into this next journey. You chose a boat to do it, which is a very confined space, which is quite interesting. Other people, you know, go to Nepal or go out into the wilderness, whereas Miss Dawn Bates suddenly goes, I'm going to go on a boat with strangers, I'm imagining. Yes.
Yeah. I had to learn to trust myself again. Because after 18 years of being with my ex-husband, there were certain times when I had doubts, but I put it down to other things that were going on, and there were certain suspicions which proved to be true. But like you say, you know, when you want each other to be happy and you love each other on a very deep level and you've got children, the thing that you want most of all is for your family to be happy. And even though we're not married, we are still family.
Yes.
We have children together. I had to learn to trust my own intuition, but I can't imagine being in the woodlands because there's just too many bugs out there, like spiders, and like I like camping, but I prefer camping at sea, which to me is sailing. I am an ocean soul. Being on a boat with all those people, like you said, they are strangers. I am researching another series of books that I'm writing, the Mermaid's Guides. But the solitude you get when you're out in the middle of the ocean and you're doing an ocean crossing and you're days away from land and everyone else is asleep and it's just you on deck and the stars are above you, and it's especially at 5 a.m. when the dolphins come out for the breakfast. Oh, Annie, you know, and and the turtles swim by, or the whales, or like when we were sailing down towards the Antarctica, towards Chile, and the penguins, and especially the penguins around Las Malvinas, like there were penguins. Like, I've seen real live penguins less than a meter away from me.
Amazing.
Like, why would you not?
Wow.
Bloody cold, though.
Yes. Didn't feel like going for a little frolic with them.
Yeah, I did, but I hadn't got a wetsuit. But, you know, I would have done. Seriously. When we were halfway across the Atlantic, and when we were in the doldrums and we were at the equator, there was just no wind. We were not going anywhere. So we were all like, it's time to go swimming. So we all jumped off the boat into the water and had swam in Lake Atlantic.
That is magic. That is total
That was the last swim I went for. I'm so needing to get to my next location with the beach. Seriously.
I'm just helping you have a little reminisce now, and you're like, oh yes, I've really got to get back there. Okay, so let's talk about Dawn, the author. Where did this seed get germinated in your childhood, besides your love of sailing? When did you decide, gee, I'd love to write books and write people's stories? What happened to you in your earlier years that led you that direction?
Oh, I've always journaled. I didn't actually, like you, pioneering the vision boards with your fridge, with your high level managerial skills.
Oh yes.
I've been journaling for years, like writing down and then looking at patterns. Okay, well that's still happening. Why am I doing that? Oh, okay, so stop doing that, Dawn. And I did that from a very, very early age. My first book was 10 years ago. I mean, I've written newsletters and I've written articles throughout my professional career on a variety of things. I had a blog that got taken down when I got followed by the secret police in Egypt. That's a whole different story. You'll have to read Wallahi. That's my second book.
Everybody better go to dawnbates.com, by the way, to get these books. Yes, carry on.
You will find Becoming Annie there too.
You will definitely find Becoming Annie there.
Yeah. But I got to a certain point in my career when everyone was asking me questions. And the same question, I went, you know what, I'm going to write a book and then you can all just go buy the book. So it was a very flippant comment. And then I went, do you know what, I'm going to write that book. And so I wrote the books.
And what was your first book?
It was called Friday Bridge.
That was your first book?
That was my first book.
Okay.
And I published that with a traditional publisher. Someone who made out they were a traditional publisher. Turns out they were not a traditional publisher. They were a vanity publisher. It took me nearly 3 years to get that book back into my hands. Okay. And I made more in 4 weeks than I had made in 4 years in royalties alone by taking back my own book. And it's one of the reasons why I've developed my publishing company the way I've done it. I don't want royalties. I don't own copyright. It is not, I didn't write the book. Why should I get royalties for it? So it's very much along that. But my writing, it came from a sense of wanting to answer questions and dispel certain stereotypes or attitudes or beliefs that people had about certain things. Like when I wrote Wallahi, I remember standing in the kitchen making dinner and my dog was to the left of me, little Celt, and I'm suddenly like having a little rant to myself, like making dinner. And Celt's looking at me, tipping his head to one side and then to another, going, what on earth are you talking about, woman? And I went, that's it, I'm going to write a book. So I phoned my ex-husband. Like, can you have the boys for the next week, please? He goes, yeah, why? I went, I'm going to write a book.
In a week.
Goes, are you? And he just, yeah. He burst out laughing. He knew that would be a thing. And, from the initial idea to international bestseller on 3 continents, it took me 14 days.
Incredible. Incredible. And it just flowed out. It wasn't even hard. It just came out at you.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I wrote your book, I just, from first meeting you, well, giggling our heads off, and I mean, it's just been one big giggle for
that did take us a lot of our time chatting and giggling, yes.
But there are just some stories that just fit with you and that just flow from you. Researching you and stalking you within an inch of your life was such a pleasure and such an honor. And you're such a fascinating woman, and the level that you serve women you know, that really resonates with me. I've had other people that want me to write their books. I'm going, yeah, no, not a thing, not happening. Yeah, it's just not going to happen, because, you know, it's got to flow. People that struggle to write a book, they're writing the wrong book. That's just, and if they need writing prompts, they're not. If you are wanting to become an author, whether it's fiction or fact, and the content does not flow out of you, you are blocked on so many levels. One, because you are either afraid of it being successful, or you're afraid of being criticized. You're not writing the right content. You don't even know what your why is. I mean, Simon Sinek talks about this a lot. But when your why is so strong, and you know that you're here to serve humanity from a higher place, and turn negatives into positives, and be an inspiration, or to leave the world in a much better place than when we arrived, you know, for me, that's an act of worship. And that is my purpose here on life, is to expose certain things or share certain things, and to not do that, I can't imagine not doing it. I can't imagine not writing. I write on average, I mean, I've just written Moana in 6 days, and I was averaging between 15 and 16,000 words a day. Because it's a book that had to be written. Just like Wallahi had to be written. But my first book took a year. Crossing the Line took 3, because I had to study the law. I had to study human rights law. I had to study family law. I had to study criminal law and wait for the outcomes of 2 court cases. So that book had to take 3 years. But the moment that information was in and I digested it, it was boof, it was written, waiting for the next installment. Coaching other people on how to write their stories, clearing the space. It's like, I was saying to somebody else, that it's almost like you want to get the car out of the drive on a snowy day. You just got to clear the snow out of the way. You just got to get rid of the stuff that's blocking you. And then once you've done that, your story, whatever it is, like I said, whether it's fiction or whether it's fact or whether it's your expertise, it will just flow. And if a book takes you, if you can't write that book, you're not meant to write that book.
Wow. Just as simple as that. Because there's so many people who say they've got a book in them, and then they start writing and then they get stuck, right? I mean, I've just heard it so many times. It's like, well, I don't know where to go. I don't know how to do it. So what you're saying is it's not your time, or is it you're not gifted at it, or you've just got blockages that are holding you back from the reason of sharing that story?
It's blockages, because I believe everyone's got a story within them. They have got content to share. You know, some people will do that through films. Some people will do that through music. Those people that say, I've got a book in me, but then don't know how to write it, it's because they are blocked.
Yeah.
For a multitude of different reasons. And this is why I offer writers unblock sessions.
Yeah.
Because if an author has got, or somebody who wants to write a book and really, really wants to write it but are not writing it, you're blocked, and I will rip it out of you. I will get that block out of your way. Oh, spend some time with me, and that it's coming
You
out.
definitely have no blockages left. Yeah. So those people who do your writing courses or learning to be an author courses, all of them. So you're saying that anyone who goes and does those courses with you, they will be able to then just get rid of those blockages and then get their book written if they apply themselves. Wow.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. I mean, I've got the 5-day author challenge, which I created over a year ago. That gets people, okay, you need to think about these things before you even think about writing the book. These are the things you need to be thinking about. your artwork, you need to be thinking about your why. Who are your champions? How are you going to market it? How are you going to make money? How are you going to structure it? You know, all the hows, whats, wherefores, and nearly finished that bit in my mum style, but I won't. And then I've got I've got a 7-module course that I do, but I've also got a 7-month mastermind, which is my author mastermind coming up. And anyone that works with me on a one-on-one, they're like, just like, oh my gosh, you know, like they've all been able to just get out of their own way. Because I don't like excuses, like the lady on the boat. I'm sorry.
You've just got to go.
You either suck it up and get on with it. I mean, I'm not exactly for the faint-hearted. I do call a spade, and but that's why I get the results that I get, because I call myself on it. I don't hold myself back, so why would I want to hold anybody else back? You say you want something, well, let's get on and get it done.
So what was it like writing my biography? When I came to you and said, you know, I want to write my story for the reasons that I wanted to write it. I wanted to share my truth, and I wanted to just get that out, release some anchors in my life, and be able to give that as a gift, that it would connect with women globally so that they could be empowered with their story and be able to move on with their story. What was that like to actually meet someone and be able to get into, you know, someone else's life, my life, to be able to then be able to write a story, you know, because I can understand you've written stories about your life and your, you know, challenges in Scotland and Egypt and, you know, things that have happened to you personally. What is it like to just suddenly go, okay, I'm going to stalk you, Annie, for 4 months and then write your story? It must be a really strange experience.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Because even though my first books were my story, they weren't really, I just used my life as a catalyst for the subjects that I wanted to talk about. So like my first book was about rural racism, social stereotypes. The second one was about the Egyptian uprising and like corrupt leadership and police corruption. So when I looked at your story, it was okay. So Annie is the subject that we are using to talk about female empowerment and that anything is possible, and looking at certain attitudes that women have about themselves and about each other. But also the mummy martyrdom that a lot of women fall foul to. And the more I learned about you, I'm like, oh my God, like seriously, 5 children? I mean, that took me a while to get my head around. For the 2 sets of twins? And James, oh my gosh. Like, I have to give a shout out to the hunky husband here. And I know he's probably listening. I know he is listening. He, like, seriously, every woman needs a James in their life. You are, like, well done, Annie. Like, kudos to you. Absolutely. But it was the way in which you both went about it, you know, the whole, you've got something great, let's make it greater. You know, Jim Collins wrote about that. You know, and Good to Great, he used business as a platform for that. But you already knew that you were a good person, and you went on to make yourself a great person. And then, you know, and then you and James had a good relationship, a great relationship. You've made that greater. You know, the impact that you have had in the world. You know, you knew that the education in the medical industry was good. It just needed to be more inclusive rather than divisive, and less of the, well, yes, we're the medical experts or we're the medical educators and, you know, you all listen to us. It was about, okay, now we've got this information, let's share it. Let's help more people become healthier sooner and, you know, enjoy life more. And then you actually made me feel really quite normal that you'd done so much, because people keep saying to me like, oh my God, how much have you done? I'm like, well, go read Annie's book. She's done just as much, if not more, you know.
We are
when you've got
hyperactive.
We are. But when you're looking at like just discovering you and going, wow, this woman's amazing. Like, and just seeing photos of you and reading the photo and the energy between you and the others, and then going onto your social media profiles and having to look for inconsistencies in your behavior and the inconsistencies in the way in which you engage with people. And okay, well, this is what she says, but this followed through in each and every area of her life. You know, with the personal engagements, because a lot of people, they wax lyrical and they say one thing and then they behave in a different way. But there were just no, I'm like, this woman is just pure love and pure joy and just wants to make the world a better place. Why would I not want to write this book? And I've learned so much about eye care. Seriously, I could diagnose myself, I think. Like the rabbit holes, the wormholes, the black holes, the nebulas. I've been going, like, seriously. Things I've learned about ultrasounds, the stuff I've learned about the eye, branding, consistency, family, relationships. Just, it was a gift.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, I've definitely been gifted by you writing it, that's for sure. And it's certainly been an amazing journey. Have someone come into my life and feel so connected so quickly, and to be able to trust someone to be able to authentically, you know, share my story, because that was a really big thing for me, to actually not, you know, write an autobiography, which, you know, I would therefore have my own bias and slant and, you know, whatever on, and then to be able to do a biography which felt a lot more authentic, because you interviewed so many people, but also feels a bit scary, because you kind of go, wow, I mean, we just met online on LinkedIn, and then all of a sudden, you know, a couple of months later, you're writing my biography and knowing my entire life. So it was an amazing ride. And I think we'll just have to be sisters forevermore, because now you know all my truths. And I don't have any secrets left.
Stuff that's not in the book.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think one thing that you have sort of obviously sort of indicated is that your bullshit tester, I'll call it, is very high. You know, that you must meet so many people who try to say one thing, but once you cut through, because you're a bit of a detective, it's just not, it's not real. And is it that they want to believe one thing, or they just think it's got to be larger than life or better than they are, or, you know, you must learn a lot about human behavior, sort of working with people so intimately.
Oh, you do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do. It's I think because I'm such a geek as well, and the subjects that I've studied along, like, I've people use a lot of NLP in their marketing, basic NLP, and people, they like to present something about themselves, and this is again one of the reasons what stops people from writing their book, because they think they have to write a book for it to be successful. It's like one of those I mean, I call it, I mean, back in the day, we used to call it a loss leader. You know, it's an introduction, it's a sales tool, whatever, you know, sales qualifier, marketing tool. It's a lead magnet. And it was quite interesting because Jenny, my editor-in-chief at House of Preeminence magazine, you look fabulous in it this month, I will say. she said something at the weekend which made me really like, she called me a serial author. And I was like, no, I'm just an author, just doing my job. And this is the thing, a lot of people use the word author as a way of elevating themselves, but they're not really an author. They've just collected their emails or their top tips, or they've kind of touched on something and they've given it away and they've created a little book or a pamphlet, as I call it. And then they call themselves an author. And I said to Jenny, is it just me being a snob? Because when you go and fix your car, you don't call yourself a mechanic, do you? Or if you've cooked yourself a meal, you don't call yourself a chef. You know,
that's so true.
But this is the thing, we present ourselves, or we use labels to present ourselves into the world. And then when you get someone like me who is a total geek and will follow the wormhole, and they will go and they will follow the breadcrumbs. I mean, I've had a fascination with criminology and psychology and theology and neuroscience for years, and I love it. I can't wait to do this degree. But when you've got all of that, and you look at the patterns of behavior, and you go, oh, okay, well, they said this, but their wording and their presentation is presenting that. Okay, why? And then when you put all of this information together, you go, oh, okay, well, they've got that blockage there. And it's just like people that are at the next level awareness and the next level of awareness, they'll see mine.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this is the thing, we have to remember that we are all just equal. We all bleed red. And if I kick you, you will bleed. I mean, you will bruise. You probably bleed as well. But the thing is, some people like to think that they're better than others. And this is one of the things I love about the ocean. She will level you. She doesn't care. Like, if your boat is not taken, she doesn't care whether you're on the most spandangled Beneteau Oceanus 45 or 55, which I've really, really got something for at the moment. You can probably tell. Oh, that boat. And she doesn't care if you've got like an old rowing boat. If you do not respect the laws of nature and you do not pay attention, you will drown at sea. You've got to be, there's no ego at sea. And when people are presenting themselves to the world, I mean, you know, like, yeah, I haven't done that yet, Annie. I'm working on that. I've just had this. I am completely honest. I'll be, right, I haven't done it. Or, okay, well, I've done this, you know, or that's not flowing, or you'll just have to wait a minute, or, okay, I'm really excited, and I'm really excited, Annie, and you've seen how excited I get, but because I'm honest and I'm real, I've got nowhere to hide.
True.
And if I don't tell the truth in my books, it discredits absolutely everything else that I do. So when I write books or when I write posts, you can better believe there's been a ton of research that goes on behind it. Like with Crossing the Line, that was all about exposing police corruption and the legal system and the corruption within the legal system in Scotland. I had to get that right. If I didn't get that right, you can bet you that those police officers that I've named and the judges that I've named in that book, they'd be on me. And it's like, okay, well, I've done my study. You're telling me that that's wrong then. Okay, well, tell me it's wrong and I will correct it. But what about all of this? You know, if you're going to put yourself out there as something, you have to make sure that you're doing it right and owning your mistakes or owning your errors or owning where you've still got learning to do. And a lot of people don't do that. Yeah. Because they're afraid to do that. And what I find really interesting is these people that say that they don't care about other people's judgments of them, and then when you're on a webinar with them, they're asking you constantly to give them feedbacks. Put a 1 in the comment, put a 2 in the comment, show me some love, show me some love. It's like, If you don't care what people are thinking, why are you asking for that?
Because they do want your love.
Of course they do. We all want to be loved, don't we?
Exactly. So
You've got loads of it.
So much love. So because your books, they're and you're writing and your whole career, because that's what you do, is your integrity, right? So so now you're at a stage of your career that, everyone's wanting a bit of Dawn Bates, and, and you've got people lined up wanting your, services as an author. Then who do you say no to now? So many times in business we get, we're wanting business, so we can sort of say yes or compromise. We've all had times in our lives of compromising a little bit. What do you now know that you would just not do? What choices, what hard choices, or are they not hard choices because you just go, they're just not right for me now?
One, I tap into the energy first of all. Like, can I giggle with this person? Yes or no? That is my litmus test. Are these people challenging me? And if so, how are they challenging me? Are they teaching me something new? Not just about the world, but also about human nature. Are they adding value to the world? Because the thing is, if they're adding value, then yes, I want to work with them. Because there's too much stuff out there that's just, it's just like, oh God, really more of that. I don't want to seem, honestly, Annie, it's like, gosh. And I know this is probably people like, oh, she's very judgmental, but you have to be. You have to judge who's in your space. I'm very, very protective over who's in my space. And for example, I've also realized that the people that I want to be able to, I've always wanted to help people, but I've realized that by wanting to help them or reducing my price for them is actually not serving them. It's not calling them forward. So I have got to the point where it's like, no, these are my fees. If you're not willing to pay my fees, then no, it's not going to happen, because you're not ready to work with me yet. And by me saying no to them is a way of me saying, go do the work and then come back to me. When you're ready, we'll see where we're both at. It might be that my prices have gone up, but you just have to call yourself a bit forward even more. But the thing is, if you're not willing to invest that amount of time and that amount of money into my services, then you don't value what I'm doing. You don't value the journey I've been on. You don't value or respect my experience, my knowledge, and my time. And I've now put in very firm boundaries and standards, and by doing that, it's aligned the right people with me. And showing up as myself and not being apologetic for who I am also filters out a lot of people. My mum says it's like separating the wheat from the chaff, Dawn. I'm like, yes, mother.
You just want the gold nuggets, really.
She's also got another phrase, but I don't think we'll share that one.
So you now, you've now gone and enrolled yourself at university again. What are you going to be studying?
Pardon?
You've now enrolled yourself at university. So what are you going to be studying?
I'm working towards my PhD in international law and social justice.
Wow. And you're super excited about it.
Oh, I am. I'm so excited. I got my textbook the other day. It's 871 pages.
Oh, my goodness. The bigger the better for you, Dawn. Everyone else would be intimidated, but you're like, oh, Oh my gosh. Okay. So why do you want to do a
Yeah.
PhD in that? What excites you about that? For an author who's done the
Oh,
books that you've done, where is this going to take you?
okay. So, well, I get to be Dr. Dawn, which I just think's got a nice ring to it.
Just the best. Yeah.
um, but Oxford University is, I moved to Oxford when I was 19 and bought my first house. I absolutely loved being in Oxford. And I was just like, yeah, I just don't want to do a degree now. I was like, yeah, it's not the right time. I'll do it later. But doing international law and social justice, again, ties into the work that I do, the kind of books that I coach my clients to write and the kind of books that I write. And it also enables me to be able to protect and advise my clients on aspects of what their book is about. And it just takes my learning of the world in which we live in and the human condition. Like this first semester, it's all about ethics and morals and values. And I have a very strong moral compass. And as Charles, who wrote the foreword of my first book, very kindly wrote in there about me having a strong moral compass. And it's always, I don't like people being bullied. I hate bullies. I don't like people who think that they can control other people. I don't like corruption within governments. I saw a lot of that when I lived out in Egypt. I don't like people abusing their position or abusing others. And I know that when you do something like international law and social justice, with the books that I write and I'm about to write, not only will these subjects give credence to the stuff that I've written, but I can also use these books as supplementary evidence towards gaining my PhD. And it's just exciting to learn. Like, why would you not want to learn? Like, for me, when you stop learning, you'd start dying. Really, seriously. Your brain's like any other muscle. If you don't work those glutes, ladies, you're going to not have a peachy butt, you know?
100%.
You got to, I sit here a lot and I'm always, I'm on some calls and I'm jumping up and down. People are, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing my butt exercises, I'm doing my core exercises, holding my core in throughout the day and twisting. But your mind, you have to keep it going. But it's another way of me adding value and serving my clients at the next highest level. When a client embarks upon a court case, let's say, I'll be able to add knowledge and experience to that. I've already beaten Scotland Police on 2 court cases.
And that was without the PhD.
And that was without the PhD.
So watch out, world. I love that because it's very, very similar to, and we have lots of conversations like that of just wanting to always be learning and growing and, in my curious nature and obviously your curious nature, it's kind of like I don't want to just do my work. I want to be learning how to do that better and how to add value to other people all the time. So it is that journey of constantly finding better ways, exploring how different people think and how they solve problems. And then, assessing and monitoring how does that fit with your own moral compass and your own ethics and so forth. Absolutely amazing. So tell us about the House of Preeminence and what you do there.
Well, the House of Preeminence is now being hailed as the new O magazine. It's where high performance ladies like ourselves hang out. It's a bi-monthly magazine, and we have a fabulous group of ladies on board. Jenny Parker Brown, or Jenny P, as we call her, Jenny P. She came up with the idea of the 9 principles for the House of for Preeminence, and she has created this guild. She has we now have a private Facebook group, so all of our lives that we're doing, each of us have a subject that we speak on every week. But it's a living, breathing, dynamic magazine. You know, you've got interviews in there, you have giveaways, your videos, as well as your articles. So I'm an executive contributor and investor for the magazine. And we have fabulous ladies such as Catherine Carey, Marsha Martin. Oh, that lady. You don't know who Marsha Martin is, people in the personal development world. You need to do your homework. She is the influencer of the influencers, and the lady that has been in my sphere and is now in my space for the last 20 odd years, and absolutely adore her. You've got Karen Baines, and the 5 of us have come together to create, I mean, Jenny, really, we write the articles and go, yeah, well, I think we should be doing this, and she'll go, okay, and then she just goes off and Jennifies it. She's just fab. She's also a stylist, but there are articles in there on money. There's articles on travel, leadership, abundance, enrollment, sales, business, life, health. We've had people such as Doria Cordova in there, Fabian Fredrickson. I just nearly dropped a bombshell. This month, we've got Sammy Wonder in there, relationship coach. I can't tell you who's coming, but very excited, and people can subscribe to the magazine. I mean, it's like only $70 for the year, and you get access to people like me, Marsha, Jenny, Karen, Carey, Catherine, sorry, I've said a surname, not a first name. And you can't buy that level of access. And with a private group as well, with us all going live or adding extra content into the group. I mean, come on, seriously. If you're not going to invest $70 a year into it, then you might as well pack up and go home.
Well said. I love that. And what I also hear from you is you've just got variety happening in your life. You know, you've got your courses, you're writing multiple books, you're writing articles for magazines, you're networking extensively, you're on podcasts, you know, you're constantly pushing yourself, extending yourself, but also giving out so much value to other people. And I think it's in those communities that you just get so known and respected for who you are, but also acceptance to then be who you are and feel comfortable in doing so. So I think that's brilliant. Let's finish then. This is a podcast called Memoirs of Successful Women. So what does success look like for you? You know, if you are to call yourself a successful woman, what does that mean to you?
Success is always evolving as we evolve. And success is having my boys proud of me. I think, you know, when they stop telling me, yeah, it's not too shabby, Mum, but, you know, you gotta, you know, kids keep it real. But I think I truly believe that our ultimate success is the inner peace that we have. The inner peace that we can be who we wish to be in the people that we are with, without fear, going after everything we've ever wanted and having a group of people that support us in that, and being the very best version of ourselves regardless of where we are on that timeline. You know, this last weekend, I have this phrase that I read a few years ago. It may not look like I'm busy, but on a cellular level, I'm really quite hectic. But having that group of people that keep you grounded as you become your very best version, but always remaining at peace within yourself. And if at any point you are not at peace within yourself and being your very best version of self, however that looks, that for me is the ultimate success, that inner peace, that tranquility, and the giggles every day. You have to giggle every day, just every day. Even on a really bloody bad day, you need to giggle.
There's something to giggle about.
There's always something to giggle about, always.
Even if it's just how miserable you're being.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, really, seriously, Dawn, get yourself up and out of bed. You know, seriously, go and slide across the floor or go and shake it and make Carlton jealous as you do the jive. Ooh, should see me do the jive now.
Woo.
I am going to go find Carlton and I'm going to say, right, game on. You wait till I get to the States. Seriously, I want to do Strictly when I get to the States. I reckon that'd be a right giggle. I might not want to wear those outfits though; they're a bit too revealing.
Yeah, watch out, watch out. I think you're definitely sounding like you've been in quarantine a little bit too long. You're definitely ready to get back on the high seas real soon. break loose and do some either gumboots or lycra. I'm not too sure, but something snazzy. Anyway,
deck shorts.
Deck shorts, exciting. Anyway, I thank you so much for being on my program today. I have loved months and months and months of giggles with you and look forward to so many more. And I think, it's been so wonderful to actually, meet you and work with you and be able to, deliver my story to the world and also see how empowering you are to not only myself, to everyone else you work with and the way you operate. You are truly inspirational and
You can make me cry in a minute.
So ladies, if you're thinking, or men, if you're thinking of writing a book, you think you've got a book in you, definitely go and contact Dawn straight away. She's got very high standards, so make sure you're ready. But go to dawnbates.com and where you can buy Dawn's books and my biography, and definitely book a discovery call with Dawn to pursue your future needs. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I've loved it, as always. Yay.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.